Hi, I'm Hannah Jones and welcome to this week's MASTS. You have noticed that my background has slightly changed. I've been cast out of where I usually do my MASTS, and so I'm actually from my office. So let's see how this goes. In this week's episode, I chat to Dr. Chris Leakey, who is leading a new project that is coming from MASTS and it is titled People, Ocean, Planet. So I'll be talking to him to find out more what this project is about, how you can get involved, or at least how you can find out more information. I also talked to Debbi Pedreschi, who is a researcher at the Marine Institute in Ireland. She has just been announced as the new chair for the steering group in integrated ecosystem assessments. So we'll be finding out more about her and what that role actually means for her as well. But before we get to those interviews, I would just like to highlight that the registration for the MASTS Annual Science Meeting is now open. We have 4 plenary speakers, 89 talks, 24 e-posters, and if you're a MASTS member, then you can join in on the workshops that are listed that are optional training opportunities too. We have a discounted ticket for students, so if you fall under that category, wherever you are more than welcome to use that, and you have 5-day access as well. So the event is happening from the 5th to the 9th of October this year, and it's happening online as well. So please check out the link that is below this video and you can register there. And now for my chat with Dr. Chris Leakey. Some of you may know him from his previous work with Nature Scot, formerly known as Scottish Natural Heritage, but he's with us in the MASTS Directorate right now and he is working on leading a new project titled People, Ocean, Planet. This is a brand new initiative that has been in the works for about a year and we're now online. So my interview with Chris was basically, what is this project called POP all about?
Great, thanks Hannah, and good to have a chance to share this with everybody. It's been in development since about last October, and we're now at a stage where we've got our new website and we're being much more public about who we are and what we're doing. And People, Ocean, Planet, or POP for short, is really a vehicle for positive impact from marine science. Last year, 2019, there was a group of like-minded people from across the MASTS community, quite senior levels, who had an idea that viewing marine science through the lens of behavioural insights would be a very good and complementary way for upping the impact for marine science and trying to tackle the human behavioural underpinning to lots of the big challenges for the ocean environment. So it's trying to be complementary to policy and the work that scientists already do with industry, but really is about behavioral psychology and sociology and other tools we can use, like technology, for example, to bring these things together in perhaps unusual and exciting partnerships to have impact in the real world.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned one of those kind of techniques that we're hoping to engage people with is behavioral change, and why that kind of approach has POP taken?
I mean, it's really a recognition, I suppose, that human behaviors, when you really think about it, are at the heart of most or all of the problems that our environment and our ocean faces, which can maybe boil down to matters of consumption, overconsumption, waste, and collateral damage that we cause when we go about our business and lives. So it stands to reason that human behavior should also be fundamental to the solutions. And so that's where we're coming from.
Excellent. So what is the approach of POP? You're already saying that you want to engage with policy and you're focusing on the behavioral change of just us, everyday speakers.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some sort of coined a few phrases, I suppose, which are about bridging gaps is what we're trying to do. Really, we're trying to move people, and I mean society at large, and we're not just talking about individuals here. This is about all levels of society, so individuals, communities, organizations, even, and help people in that context bridge the gap to knowledge, and from knowledge to feeling optimistic that they can do something individually or collectively, and from having good intentions to taking action. And our sort of mantra, if you like, our model for behavior change is to motivate, socialize, and ease the change, and that's a sort of an adaptation of quite a well-established behavioural change model, and in fact one that Scottish Government adopts within its behaviour change work. And the socialised aspect of that is particularly interesting and powerful. Potentially, people talk about the 25% rule and the idea really that you only have to really visibly change a relatively small proportion of a group or a population, and that shifts the social norms or the perceptions of social norms, and really lead to a cascade of wider change, which then starts to interact with how governments and businesses will respond to what society at large is telling them or asking for or doing.
Absolutely. So as we've just kind of said, we've just gone live with this project. So where can people find out more if they want to get involved, and how can they get in contact with you as well?
Yeah, so this is really, it's a project by and for MASTS, but, also working beyond the Scottish marine science community, beyond Scotland. We aspire to this actually being much more of an international activity in time. And we're developing our own projects, new projects, but also becoming partners on other proposals and adding value to the work other people are already doing. So we're kind of working at different levels in that. And then just more generally, I suppose, as we are launching things more publicly now, and we have a website and a social media, I'm sure Hannah will put that just here. Please go and click on the social media if you do that, just to help us raise our profile and what we're about, and also to build more of a kind of a community of thought and activity in this area. And because I'm aware, I suppose, that there are lots of relevant projects going on across the MASTS community
Absolutely.
in this field already, right? So we want to help promote those projects that are in the past or current, and really use that as leverage to build a kind of a community around this idea.
If you would like to find out more about the POP project, then please check out the link that is below this video, but also note that Chris is featuring in the MASTS Annual Science Meeting as a speaker, so you'll be able to find out a lot more information directly from him or from his exhibition booth that will be throughout the entire event as well. And now for my chat with Dr Debbie Pedreschi. She is a researcher at the Marine Institute in Ireland and has just been announced as the new chair for the ICES Steering Group in Integrated Ecosystem Assessments, alongside Jens Rasmussen, who has just been announced as the chair for the ICES Steering Group in Data Science and Technology as well. Before we delve into what the responsibilities of a chair means for Debbie, I asked her what her research interests are.
So my research interests are actually quite diverse. I started off doing my PhD on freshwater fish, and I was doing genetics and stable isotopes and morphometrics there. But my more recent interests are all centered around the ecosystems approach to fisheries management. So I have two main strands there. One is looking at developing new ways of managing fisheries, and I work a lot with fishermen and stakeholders in that respect. And the other one is in integrated ecosystem assessment, which is where we try to look at all the different processes that are going on in dynamics from the ecosystem side, but also the human pressures that are acting on those ecosystems in order to try and figure out what's going on and where we should direct our efforts.
Absolutely, that's really great to hear. And you've been involved in ICES for a number of years now. So how did you first get involved in ICES, and where did that kind of fit into your kind of career stage? When did you start getting involved in them?
So I got involved the first year after my PhD, so it was my first postdoc, and pretty soon after that, which was, I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago now. And I got involved by joining my first working group, which was WGEOS, which is the working group for ecosystem assessment for the Western European shelf seas. So it's a very catchy title. But the reason I got involved with them is because of the integrated ecosystem assessment work that I've been doing and I've been involved in. And this particular group is responsible for producing those for the Celtic Seas ecoregion and the Bay of Biscay and Iberian Waters ecoregion. So right down from the Gulf of Cadiz in southern Spain up to the west of Scotland, that entire shelf edge is the area of interest. On a more practical side, how I got involved was through my manager at the time was already involved in ICES and invited me to come along to one of these meetings. And I was quite scared at the time because ICES, which I don't think I said, but is the International Council for the Exploration of the Seas, is it seems quite intimidating from the outside. So I didn't really know what to expect, especially when the working groups are often referred to as expert groups, and I didn't feel like an expert. But I went along and very quickly realized that it's a very dynamic space that's very open and inclusive, particularly within the science groups, in trying to develop ecosystems research and all types of fisheries and marine research. And you know, if you want to get involved, it's actually quite easy to get involved. The doors are much more open than they appear to be from the outside. So when I joined them back in about 5 years ago, and then last year I became co-chair for that working group.
Excellent. And then you have just been announced as the chair of the Ecosystem Assessment Steering Group. What does that role do? Like, as a chair of a steering group, what do you get up to?
Well, I'm not quite sure yet, because it only happened last Friday, and I officially take on the role starting from January. But the steering group, the steering group parents a number of these expert groups or working groups. And for this particular steering group, it's parenting all of the groups that are responsible for the integrated ecosystem assessments for all the different ecoregions. So we have, what my role will be is to work with these groups to help out where I can to help integrate between the groups, but also to be their voice and their representative on SciComm, which is the science committee of ICES, and to help push forward in what we're going to do in this field of work into the future. So for instance, I mentioned the ecosystem overviews or advice products of ICES, and so we're working to make them more comparable between the different ecoregions and to make them more transparent so that it's very clear where the science came from and what the background is to that. So they're kind of some of the key things that I think we'll be focusing on. And then in another exciting area of development is moving into including more social and economic aspects and not just focusing on the ecology, which is something that's quite new for a number of the different groups.
If you would like to find out more about ICES, there are a couple of links below this video that I hope will provide you some information. But that's everything for now, so register for the MASTS Annual Science Meeting, stay safe and have a great weekend.